Good morning, good day. My name is Michael Jung. It's my purpose in life to assist you on becoming your best version. I hope everybody's having a happy hump day. Halfway through it. That 9 to 5 grind. Ugh, that's hell. Are you still living that life? Don't worry, it's gonna end. It's guaranteed to end. It's guaranteed to end. It did for me. Now, if everybody could be as blessed as I am, and when I left the Matrix, it seemed like everything was just happening for me, but you won't see it at the time. So this video is in regards to things that will happen before you end up leaving the Matrix and things that will happen when you leave the Matrix. So I activated my DNA about a year and a half ago. And maybe it just naturally happened, but one thing that happened around that time was a really, really transcending magic mushroom experience. But like I said, it could have just been my time. I don't know. But here's a few things that started happening to me right before I was about to awaken. I started battling depression. Out of nowhere, for no reason, just getting depressed. I couldn't look forward to anything. I would do the funnest things in the world, like, oh yeah, we're gonna wake up early, we're gonna go to Six Flags Great America, we're gonna ride the Raging Bull 12 times, and then we're gonna go get a funnel cake, and then we're gonna go freaking whatever, fun shit. And I'm just like, and that was everything. Could not look forward to anything. And then I was like, what's going on? Why am I so fucking depressed? What happened? Everything's fine. And then I noticed I started getting angrier a lot easier. Things would just trigger me and come to the surface, and I'd be like blood boiling angry. Almost to the point where it seemed like, this guy should be on some medicine. And I started wondering, like, where does this anger coming from, And all these things just started surfacing, And I'm like, that's what actually brought me to the magic mushroom experience, was the depression. I made a video about it earlier. How, like, I was looking for natural ways to cure depression, and I just happened to come across magic mushrooms and had a very transcendent experience, and that kind of opened up my doorway to, like, psychedelics and whole spiritual awakening and whatnot. So if you have emotions surfacing that don't usually surface, that's a clear sign. And these things are getting brought to the surface so you could deal with them, so you could process them, so you could let them go, so you could be the happy, loving, joyful human being that you came here to be. Temporarily. Because you're a spiritual being. Just having this flesh-like experience. But, got off topic. So, what else happened? I lost my job. Well, no, I quit my job. Because every time out of work, I was working on myself. I was processing this anger and this depression. I was getting through it. But every time I walked through that doorway of that job, I turned back into that ugly motherfucker. Started treating people like shit, talking crazy to myself. And I realized, like, wow, if I really, really, really want to overcome this and heal this, I gotta let this job go. And I came up with some scheme in my head about how I was gonna, quit the job to go take care of a sick parent and collect unemployment and whatnot. And there's a saying, man plans and God laughs. So I had this thought that I was gonna have unemployment and everything. Ended up quitting the job, go to unemployment, got denied, and ended up having to get more work. But these things happen. And while I had to go look for this new job, I ended up being introduced to a certain individual and ended up being my boss. And it's these things that you attract. You attract these individuals, and these individuals will teach you a little bit about yourself. With each and every person that you meet, you will see an aspect of yourself in that person. And whether you enjoy that person or you are repelled by that person. It's there to teach you something. And that's one thing that I started noticing in the beginning of my awakening. Everybody that I ran into was there to teach me something, and I would learn. And I was always mindful about the people that I got introduced to, about the conversations that I have, because that's one thing that you have to be conscious. Like, we're in a simulation, and everything that is happening to us right here, right now, is to remind us of who we truly are. So you never hear anything by accident. You never see anything by accident. You never experience anything by accident. So if anything weird happens to you, you have to start questioning it. Any synchronicity, any coincidence, anything, start questioning it. Because it's all there to remind you of who you are. Now, once you end up taking that leap of faith and leaving the matrix and quitting your job and whatnot, you know, well, I got too ahead of myself. So, pre-awakening, all these things are going to all these emotions are going to come to the surface for you to process. Certain people that you once got along with are going to annoy the fuck out of you and, you know, really question of why you're even in a friendship or a relationship with this person. And, you know, it's going to take you speaking your truth. So get used to just speaking your truths. That is the most important thing that you could do. And don't worry about whether you're hurting anybody's feelings or not. If somebody gets their feelings hurt without you literally being ignorant or rude, then that's their issue that they have to deal with. It has nothing to do with you. And they have some unprocessed shit that you just surface. And that's one thing that you're going to notice is you're going to get around people and you're going to bring their shadows to the surface, and they're not going to like that. And they're going to point the finger at you saying, you're wrong, you're a dirtbag, and you're this and you're that. But all you're doing is just shining a light on their shadows. And it, you know, just get used to that, you know. And just know that everybody that shows up in your life that you resonate with was meant to be there. And everybody that you didn't and you didn't get along with was not there to serve you. So remove that notion that you're spiritual and you're loving and you're joyful and you have to like everybody and you have to get along with everybody, because that's a fucking fairy tale. Spiritual or not, you're not going to like everybody you want. But back on the subject, your whole life will fall apart, and the only advice I have to you is just let go. Allow it to happen. Don't force it, and don't try to control it. Just let it go, because better is going to replace it. And I'm living proof of that. I'm living proof of it. Every time something was gotten removed from my life, something there was to replace it. Not a girlfriend yet, but I'm not ready for that. I'm working on myself. I want to be able to give this person my best version. And I'm not trying to go get in a relationship when I'm not ready, when I don't know who I truly am and, you know, my purpose and all that. Because if you're trying to build a healthy relationship, you personally have to just be on point. You have to know who you are, what you want to do with your life, and all of that. That is so important to a healthy relationship. Because then you just start projecting shit out onto the other person, and that shit don't ever work out. So let's just say you got all through that, you know, you lost your job, maybe your girlfriend, your boyfriend, and then you got your car taken away, and, you know, you're assed out. And you have nothing left for the universe to take from you except the soul in your body and maybe the clothes on your back. Now is when the magic starts. You're going to notice, as long as you're following your heart and your intuition, your whole life's just going to be one big synchronicity. One big synchronicity. Just synchronicity after synchronicity. Like, it's almost like as if I got the code to the universe. And I mean, obviously, if I truly had the code to the universe, I'd be sitting on $1 billion and doing all this. But what I mean by that is, like, you have a blueprint of where you need to go. And it's these synchronicities that show up that confirm that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And to just go with the flow. And the more that you learn to go with the flow and trust, oh, the better off you're going to be. Always be exactly where you need to be. So, then you're going to start noticing your gifts. We all have gifts, except we were told to grow up, quit acting like a child, and quit talking to an imaginary friend or whatever. And you're going to start realizing your gifts, and they're going to start coming to the surface, and you're just going to wonder, like, wow, is this a gift or a curse? Because sometimes it could be a curse. Like me, personally, I get around people, and I can almost just read their thoughts, you know? I could smell bullshit from a mile away. Like if you're unauthentic and you're a fake person, like I read that, and I just space. I don't say anything. I just space myself from that person, you know? And another thing that I've been noticing, maybe you guys can relate, and this is more on a visual cue. I'm starting to see like energy in the sky. And it's like, if I look into the sky, it's almost like a layer of static. You know, like that white noise you watch. Like, remember when you were a kid, like if way back when, before cable and before digital, they had like the fuzzy ass screen? That's what it kind of looks like. I just don't know why I'm seeing it. Like, I don't know how it's supposed to serve me, but maybe it will develop in time. But that's just things that I just started noticing, you know. And just know that you have a great life waiting for you. And if you continue to just follow your heart, you ain't not even going to be able to begin to imagine where you're going to be as far as living your purpose, finding fulfillment, and just enjoying life. Because believe it or not, we came here to enjoy life, to experience life, and to have a good life. And in order to experience good, you have to know what bad is. So that's why there's contrast. That's why good things happen and bad things happen. Because if it was all good, it would get kind of boring. So just know that if you're going through your awakening, this is going to happen to you regardless, and that you're on your way to a beautiful life. You can't even begin to imagine on how beautiful this life is going to be. And that's why it's so important not to hold expectations. You know, because you hold an expectation of how you think this whole thing's going to go and what you're going to do with your life. And you get led somewhere, right? And you got this expectation, oh, this is it. I know it is. And you get there, and it wasn't it. And you get discouraged. And you're like, eventually, after 3 or 4 times of doing this, you're like, man, fuck this whole awakening thing, man. I'm just going to go back and get me a job and just pretend like I'm sleeping again and do this and do that. And that's because you held an expectation. Quit holding expectations. What works for me is just saying, I am open to everything, or I am open to everything, attached to nothing. And not holding any expectations of how it's going to come about. Because you will never even imagine how the universe is going to deliver this to you. You'll never know. And that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Because like I said, if we were to guess it, wouldn't it be that exciting now, would it? Like, I honestly feel like I am days, weeks, maybe a month away from something really big happening. And the universe will give you signs to this, right? And I'll share something with you that kind of just like, I had an epiphany. So like, I went into a float tank last weekend, you know, and I took some magic mushrooms and some edibles. Well, the girl that, you know, who had gave me the edibles, she gave me the edibles and the mushrooms and whatnot, and she didn't charge me, and she said something about, you know, something tells me that, you know, you're going to pay me back tenfold. And I didn't know what she meant by that. And I'm like, you know, does she know something I don't know? And then also, out the blue, my best friend, my brother, had called me randomly And it was saying, like, something big's about to happen for you, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I fully support you, man. And, you know, I don't know what it is, but I was just compelled to call you and, you know, just tell you that, you know, you're on track, man. You're doing it. And just keep doing it. And I'm just wondering, I'm like, that's just weird how these two incidences happen. And it's almost like the universe is cheering me on through other people. And, you know, that happened first with my best friend. And then second with the girl who gave me the edibles. And I'm like, do they know something I don't know? That's weird. So pay attention to these little signs that the universe gives you through other individuals. It might even be something that you don't want to hear. But ask yourself, why am I hearing this? Because I made a video about this earlier. The universe talks through others to us. And we could either take it as advice, as constructive criticism, or we could take it personal and we could scold that person for getting in our business. But that's almost as if you're just telling God to mind his own fucking business. Because that's all that's happening is God is talking through this individual to you. Maybe they felt like this individual can get through to you. Who knows? But just know it's your time. And there is a life waiting for you right now that is just going to blow your mind. And you're going to live it. You're going to live it to the fullest. So don't focus on what you don't want. Just focus on what's going on in here. And in here. That is the most important. Because what's going on in here dictates what goes out here. So if you could just be randomly thinking of something and then you kind of fast forward to something that you have to do later and it brings anxiety to you. You're like, oh wow. Be like, what the fuck? Like, I was just fine and then I had this thought and it brought this dense ass emotion in my heart. And this will constantly happen. You'll be fine. Everything will be great. And then you'll have a thought and it will just draw your emotions down. You're like, what the fuck? All that is a thought that is out of alignment with your true authentic self. So you had a thought that you were supposed to do something and then you had this anxiety. What it is saying is you're not expected to do any of that. And then that expectation that you have in your head is out of alignment with your true authentic self. So remove that expectation because it is what's causing this resistance. And then if you do that, you'll be all good. But more importantly, love yourself. Please subscribe, share, and just be happy.